We all see you from various places around the world, frequently places that we are not going to attend ourselves, and appreciate that hard work. Tell me, in the context of you covering in person some of the most heart-wrenching global stories of conflict and dismay, what has hit you the hardest over the past year?
I think the thing that has hit me the hardest, which perhaps is not obvious to many people around the world, is the fact that as international journalists, we're still not able to get inside Gaza and report from on the ground. There have been some opportunities for journalists to go into the so-called yellow zone of the Gaza Strip, the 53% of it that is under the control of the IDF.
They're still embedded, though, with the IDF
They're
when they do that.
embedded with the IDF. And what's crucial, and again, I think a lot of people don't realize this, you cannot talk to Palestinians if you go in with the IDF for pretty obvious reasons, right? So what that means is that we are really playing catch up constantly, trying desperately to put together the pieces of the puzzle. We obviously are working closely with Palestinian journalists on the ground who have been doing heroic and courageous work. But now that there's a ceasefire, which really had been the ostensible reason given by the IDF for not allowing international journalists in, and I should add, there have been regular infractions and it's still a dangerous and volatile situation on the ground, but still, the reason that was articulated, security, no longer really holds. And so it's very frustrating for those of us who have been covering this story very closely, obviously since October 7th, but for decades beforehand as well, to not be on the ground reporting firsthand and crucially talking to Palestinians and platforming those voices. And as a reporter covering a story, Ian, that is so hotly contested, that is so politicized, that is so divisive, where information is constantly being weaponized, having your own 2 feet on the ground and your own 2 eyes looking at whatever it is that's right in front of you allows you to speak with some level of authority and clarity that otherwise will continually be questioned because of the kind of red hot emotion on both sides of this conflict.
What's the reason given for why journalists aren't able to travel in those places?
Honestly, there isn't an actual justification or a reason given. And to be honest, by not allowing journalists in, you're really lending credence to the idea that this whole thing has never been about security. It has been about trying to hide away from the eyes of the world the devastation and horrors that have been taking place over the last 2 years in Gaza. And we can do a good job of working out what's happening on the ground from the outside. But to be clear, there is absolutely no replacement for being there. And I'm not just even talking about fact checking and trying to understand the kind of anatomy of any given story. I'm also talking about the sights, the smells, the feels, the human connections, the small moments on camera that capture a much larger theme. It just doesn't allow for us, I don't believe, to fully convey to our audiences who are already feeling kind of anxious and overwhelmed because of how hotly politicized this conflict has become, to adequately convey to them the realities.